Hey there. I wanted to make this video today to talk about good old Chemo Brain. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I've talked about it before on my blog, but I kind of wanted to address it, I guess, a little bit more personally. Maybe this is more personal, perhaps, because I'm kind of talking to you. And I'm wanting to share this because I think it's not really understood, and I think that maybe if I try to explain my situation and how things are, maybe if you know someone who's dealing with cancer, you'll have a little bit better understanding of what they're dealing with. Not to mention that maybe you'll understand better what I'm dealing with. I'm looking at myself as I'm talking to you, and I'm not wearing makeup, but I'm just getting kind of distracted by that. But I don't want that to get in the way of me talking about this, because I feel like it's something I should address. There is a syndrome or something, I forget what it's called, but there is something about some kind of thing that happens when you have chemo, how it affects your brain, how it can affect you for sometimes a long time to come. And I read something before I felt affected by it that was suggesting that maybe chemo brain is just stress, and I can guarantee you it's not just stress. I've also spoken with people who are I guess speech pathologists, or like they're into talking to people who have issues with chemo in their brains. And apparently there are certain symptoms and certain things that correlate to what happens when people get chemo. And while it may look like I'm just fine and I'm just dandy because I write my blogs and I can speak somewhat fluently at times, there is a difference between what I do in regard to this from what I need to do when it comes to my left brain. Now, you probably realize or know, I'm guessing, that the left brain is a logical brain, and I always remember that because L and L. And the right brain is the creative brain. And I always remember that because it's kind of like I'm in my right mind. I am a very creative person. I am definitely more right brain dominant. However, a lot of life is left-brained. You do something on the computer, you have to think about, although if it's creative, it's one thing, but like when I do images and stuff, and I have to save them and upload them and things like that, it takes a different part of my brain. I almost wish I didn't have to do those things, but in order for me to get them out there, I have to. So it's something of a challenge to do that. I haven't actually done my taxes yet. I haven't done them because it takes me sitting down and having to analyze numbers and having to think. Now you may think I'm thinking as I'm talking to you. And the funny thing is maybe there is a bit in there, but if I'm talking to you and I'm not thinking, it actually flows much more easily. And the same thing goes with my blog entries. If I'm not thinking, they flow. And it's easier for me to say the things I need to say. And the minute I start thinking and analyzing is the minute that I start having more difficulty writing. And you don't see these things because you just sort of see the results of what I'm capable of doing. If you were the IRS, you'd still be waiting on me to file. And there are just times when I can't think of words. I can't think of things that I should remember. There are difficulties I have getting motivated. I think I mentioned this before, and again, this is one of those times where I don't quite remember, but there was an example of a woman who was dealing with the chemo stuff, and she told the speech person that there was a big pile of bills over there, and she said she didn't care if she got them paid or not. There's a level of that for me, which I'm not quite there, but there is a piece that's there. So it's sort of like anything that doesn't absolutely need my attention doesn't get it. There have been a few things that have been really important that need to get done, and I've had to really, 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 really push myself after a period of not being able to do it to actually get it done. And it's a real challenge, and it may even be something that's not even that big of a deal in the quote-unquote normal world, but it's a huge deal in terms of something I have to deal with. Given that I work for myself, and given that I've always been challenged by the left and logical parts of being in business for myself, I kind of feel like I'm running a bit at a deficit right now in terms of, even a bigger deficit in terms of trying to get things done. So I'm even challenged more now. And there are certain things that I can do to try to help myself, but it really is a concern for me, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, especially since there's still an element of not really caring and being motivated. And it's not the kind of not caring and not being motivated that is normal. It really is multiplied some. And I kind of hate talking like this because I think someone once had a quote, something to the effect of, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them, or something. So it's not that I want to argue to keep them, and I'm certainly looking at, in my mind too, trying to figure out if there's some way, maybe hypnotically, to try to encourage things to get back to normal sooner rather than later. I have mentioned before too that I used hypnosis when I was doing chemo, and it's one of those things where I don't know if the hypnosis helped or not. It's kind of hard to tell. You can't do two tracks. So for all I know, the hypnosis may have made things better than they would have otherwise been. I don't want to say the hypnosis didn't work, but there's no way I know exactly, to what degree it was helpful, because there's no way to manage it and test it. It's just one me and one experience. So why was I saying that? Oh boy, why was I saying that? See, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I can talk about something, but my mind has a hard time doing more than one track. So if I start going off on a different direction, or if I lose my train of thought, it gets lost. So why was I saying that? Why was I telling you that? I don't remember. But this is the kind of thing that I'm struggling with, and it takes a great effort for me to do the kind of things that I need to do to make money and basically take care of myself. I wish my videos, I wish my graphic stuff, I wish all the stuff, my blogs, were making me the kind of money that I needed to survive. That would be a dream of mine. Another dream of mine would be to be a speaker, to find opportunities to speak about types of experiences and things that I know. I have actually done talks about hypnosis, and now I think I could very well do a talk about hypnosis and about chemo, and maybe do something to help people who've had chemo and or having chemo, because I do think whether those recordings actually helped me or not, they did help me be at peace, and it also made my chemo sessions go fly like that. So I would just tune out, be gone, and I'd wake up and I'd feel amazing. And I think I had even mentioned before too that they would take my blood pressure before and after chemo, and oftentimes it would be much lower afterwards. And they said that's not typical. So